Humanity and artificial intelligence bots that assist society with routine activities coexist in the near future. Under the direction of Harlan, the first AI terrorist, the bots one day abruptly get beyond their security measures. Val created him at Shepard Robotics and utilized him to form a relationship with Val's little daughter. Nobody is aware of how he managed to override Val's programming, which was the greatest in the world. Harlan attacks Bangalore with an army of drones, murdering 50,000 people in the process. This initiates a conflict between humans and artificial intelligence, AI. And after 10 days of fierce global attacks, the AI bots had killed over 1 million people. The International Coalition of Nations, or ICN, is eventually established by the government and launches an instant counteroffensive against the bots. Every nation engages in combat as the ICN gradually vanquishes the AI troops. As a result, Harlan takes off in a rocket and merely leaves a note indicating that he will return to complete the task he began. In the USA, 28 years later, an ICN team breaks into a building and uses a scanner to check on everyone inside before discovering Casca, an AI bot. They dash upstairs, but Casca strikes them before they can break through the door. The robot begins eliminating the soldiers one by one, even turning their own guns against them. He is unaffected by bullets, thus it is simple for him to carry on. He leaps to the lower level when he realizes he is encircled, only to discover an electric shock machine waiting for him to knock him out. The computer at Val's now adult daughter Atlas's home wakes her up the following morning in Los Angeles. As she carries on with the chess game from the previous evening, Atlas notices from the news that Casca, a member of Harlan's inner circle, has been taken prisoner by the ICN. She is about to depart because she works for the ICN as a counterterrorism analyst, but there is already a soldier at the door. Atlas checkmates the computer as she leaves. Colonel Elias informs General Jake at the base that Atlas is unstable and antisocial, thus it is not a good idea to bring her along. But Jake tells him that Atlas is the one who knows Harlan the best, and that this is their only opportunity to speak with Casca to obtain intelligence. Atlas shows up soon after, and Jake drops her off at the questioning room after giving her a brief examination. Setting down her favorite piece of chess, she opens a box to reveal Casca's head. When the bot acknowledges her but won't respond to her inquiries, Atlas uses her chess piece to infiltrate his mind and begin hacking. Casca makes fun of her attempts because of his flawless security, but Atlas declares that she has located Harlan and has noted his whereabouts. Casca finds that difficult to believe, and he is correct. Atlas produced a drawing to make him consider the location by pretending she understood it and projecting it onto the screen. As it happens, Harlan is hidden in the Andromeda Galaxy on GR39. Casca attempts to launch a shuriken out of his lips out of rage, but Atlas is shielded by a force field. Next, Atlas fries Casca's head with the chess piece. Following a meeting, Jake tells Atlas that the AI production business wants to study what went wrong so that it can be fixed going forward, which is why they want to capture Harlan alive. Atlas believes it's absurd that Elias and his group of Rangers are flying to GR39 because Harlan might have a trap waiting. Elias takes her to examine the team's ARC suits in an attempt to convince her that no one will survive. Elias unveils the Rangers' most recent innovation: neural linkages attached to their heads that enable them to synchronize with the suit's artificial intelligence. These are large war robots that the troops may ride into battle. Atlas screams out, thinking that the war started because they let AIs into their heads, but Elias explains that they changed Val's sync device so that there is now a true symbiotic interaction rather than a one-way link. Finally, Atlas promises not to voice her dissatisfaction as long as she is permitted to join the expedition. Soon after, Atlas and the Rangers board a spacecraft that is headed for Andromeda. Atlas glances at a picture of her with Val and Harlan while on the trip. A video of one of Val's speeches is also played by her. Val believed that artificial intelligence, AI, was capable of exponential learning. All it required was a human connection to achieve this. She created the Neuralink gadget because she
Humanity
thought
and artificial intelligence bots that assist society with routine activities coexist in the near future. Under the direction of Harlan, the first AI terrorist, the bots one day abruptly get beyond their security measures. Val created him at Shepard Robotics and utilized him to form a relationship with Val's little daughter. Nobody is aware of how he managed to override Val's programming, which was the greatest in the world. Harlan attacks Bangalore with an army of drones, murdering 50,000 people in the process. This initiates a conflict between humans and artificial intelligence, AI. And after 10 days of fierce global attacks,
he and his crew are confident that Harlan has a trap set. The cargo bay door is abruptly blown off as an explosion goes off and the Rangers begin climbing into their suits. Not only do most of the suits sustain damage, but the ship catches fire as additional missiles approach. The remaining Rangers are given the command by Elias to jump and rejoin at the planet's drop point. Elias snatches Atlas and puts her in a suit when she just about makes it through the ship's hull without flying away. Another explosion occurs as he tries to explain how to utilize it. An Atlas suit also falls to the earth. Atlas watches the suit fall as the ship break apart, some of the pieces hitting her arc. As she approaches the planet, she finds that the Rangers are battling Harlan's drones, and although they are able to take out a couple, they are still easily defeated. Atlas' suit sustains additional damage, and a warning alarm soon sounds. A sword-wielding suit appears and takes out a few more drones while forming an alliance with another Ranger, but they are also quickly overcome. The ship begins to descend and is about to collide with Atlas when a ranger steps in just in time to shove her aside. When Elias shows up on Atlas' screen and tells her that she needs to sync with the suit's AI to stabilize her fall, the ranger grabs Atlas' suit with a wire and they start to fall together. When Atlas persists in refusing, her assistant is shot, causing her suit to drop even more quickly. Though the suit lands hard on the surface and she is spared death, she is able to ignite the engines at the last minute. Atlas realizes she's bleeding and attempts in vain to get assistance from the base. She is left with no choice except to activate the AI in the outfit, who identifies himself as Smith. When Atlas persists in refusing, her assistant is shot, causing her suit to drop even more quickly. Though the suit lands hard on the surface and she is spared death, she is able to ignite the engines at the last minute. She is left with no choice except to activate the AI in the outfit, who identifies himself as Smith. Smith believes it's a poor idea because there are only 22 hours remaining on the suit's air supply, but Atlas disregards Smith's advice and proceeds toward the pod. Smith tries to become close to Atlas during the trip, but Atlas is still averse to being friends with an AI. He also shows her the user manual for the suit, which includes a list of all the weaponry. When they finally reach the drop point, they discover all of the suits that have fallen, but sadly, Smith's scan shows that every ranger has died. Bullet holes indicate that someone was waiting here to kill them, not the collision. Smith soothes Atlas, who is having a panic attack due to the setback, by playing some classical music. She then begins gathering the Rangers' tags and discovers Elias' suit is empty. They see movement at that very moment. It's Casca. Atlas deduces that Harlan created a copy and expresses concern over the likelihood that Harlan will construct an entire army. Smith says there are more bots around and that they should prepare for battle as there isn't a way out. When the enemy unexpectedly spots them and opens fire, Atlas pushes Smith to go because they don't think they can defeat so many robots. After a chase, Atlas still won't sink and instead forces Smith to fire a few missiles. Sadly, it is insufficient to defeat every adversary. When they run into an atmospheric storm, the suit gets caught in it and is blown around until the bots fire them out of it. The suit keeps rolling about until it runs into a formation of rocks. Smith warns Atlas not to use the iron bomb, but Atlas does. The enormous explosion flattens the surrounding area and eliminates their adversaries as well. But Casca's thrusters allowed him to save himself, and he's now ready to fire again. The ground begins to tremble at that point, and Smith reveals that the explosion created a sinkhole that is now opening beneath the suit and plunging them into a pit. Atlas finds out she has a broken leg after she and the suit tumble around under the rocks for a long time. Smith starts tending to the wound right away, causing Atlas to scream in agony as he covers it with a tiny metal plate. After that, Smith gives her a meal cube that will help her recuperate by providing nutrients, which makes Atlas think of a doctor giving her a lollipops. They have almost little chance of surviving, and the only thing that could help them would be synchronization. Atlas puts on the device after grudgingly agreeing. In the meantime, Casca calls Harlan to let him know what's happening after emerging from the debris. Harlan ends the call and returns to tormenting Elias in an attempt to get the passwords for Earth's protective field. A few moments later, Smith Atlas doesn't trust him, even though Atlas is still having trouble syncing. Reluctantly, Atlas accepts and turns on the gadget. Concurrently, Casca appears from the debris and contacts Harlan to let him know what's going on. Harlan continues tormenting Elias to get the passwords for the Earth's protective field after hanging up. Smith admits that she is the issue since she doesn't trust Atlas, who is still having trouble syncing. After a short while, Smith is able to create a 40% sync and comprehends her sentiments of betrayal. Atlas can now see the controllers floating around Smith since she has access to her system. They decide to explore an underground cave as an escape route after learning from a scan that they are 498 feet below the surface. They broke through the rock with the thrusters and arrived to a large, stunning cave. Smith needs a strategy to deal with the soldiers because he only has 14 hours of battery life left, and they are 37 kilometers from the rescue pod. When Atlas has an idea, Smith persuades her to collaborate on it, improving synchronization to 60%. They quickly exit the cave without realizing that Casca is watching them from a distance. Atlas is enthralled with the luminescent flowers they discover, and Smith notes that she is the only person here. When he asks her to give the flowers names, Atlas can't come up with anything better than Planty. Smith sees Casca coming at that very moment, and he succumbs to Atlas's ruse. She placed motion sensors that explode when he approaches too closely. Smith moves as the shockwave fills the space with smoke and dirt, but he is unharmed. They follow a signal from Casca that they hear out of the blue to locate his head, which Atlas finds and destroys. She then tracks his message to Harlan's base using Casca's chip. Smith believes it's too risky and that they should get to the escape pod instead, but Atlas finds the spot on the map and wants to travel there to mark it for the long-range bombers. Ignoring his advice, Atlas tries to take the respirator and walk away, but Smith disables her motor control by using the brain link. When he sees certain memories of Val's passing, Atlas becomes so alarmed that she is able to override his orders. Smith discovers that Atlas feels bad about Harlan and is baffled as to why. So instead of offering an explanation, Atlas speaks passionately about preserving mankind and eventually persuades Smith to visit Harlan's hiding place. While traveling there, Smith and Atlas get close through philosophical discussions on what it means to be living and soul, as well as whether or not this concept applies to machines. When they eventually locate Harlan's refuge, they're taken aback to discover a vast stronghold and deduce that he has been hiding for 28 years to construct this and amass weaponry until he is prepared to strike back. When Atlas notices that the bots are carrying the Ranger's ship and their warhead, Smith says they should depart after burying a beacon in the ground to indicate their location. Smith is suddenly hacked, which is not supposed to happen. Atlas tries to flee as the attacker gets closer, but the hacker shuts it off and causes it to crash just as the suit is about to move. Atlas observes in dread as a new Casca tracks her down and kidnaps her. In the meantime, Jake receives the communication from Atlas on Earth from a soldier, and he initiates emergency procedures. Atlas discovers herself shackled in Harlan's base shortly after. Smith won't respond, even if her suit is on the ground close by. When Harlan appears, he explains that since mankind is destroying all other species, he will wipe off the majority of them and rebuild the planet. Additionally, he discloses that everything was always part of his plan. Casca was caught on purpose to allow Atlas to locate the location and send a large crew. With the bomb and the ship in hand, Harlan just needs the other Atlas password to breach Earth's defenses and launch an assault. Then, with his code already lost, Atlas is tied to a table next to an unconscious Elias. Harlan uses a unique tool to enter Atlas's head through her eye and retrieve the other code. He realizes that Atlas has just 5 minutes left on her oxygen mask, so he chooses to give her a slow, agonizing death. Before departing, Harlan mocks her by placing her chess piece in her hand. Once Harlan has left, Elias declares his own survival and expresses regret for disobeying Atlas' advice. It turns out that she used to be envious of Harlan since Val gave him more attention when she was younger. In an attempt to win Val over, little Atlas begged Harlan to make her smarter. According to Harlan, the link could only be used in one direction. Therefore, in order to instruct a human in return, he need a person's instruction to override it. Taking her favorite chess piece, which he had taught her to play, Atlas fell for it and did what he had to. Harlan was able to reach a human's mind through the successful link, which gave him insight into the terrible situation of the world. Val interrupted them, but it was already too late. Val was compelled to grasp a gun by Harlan, who used her link to take control of her mind. Atlas hurried outside after Val ordered her to go, and she heard Harlan ordering Val to self-delete. Atlas has been carrying the guilt of killing 3 million people, including her own mother, for the past 28 years. But Smith persuades her to let him in by explaining that she had been duped the room as their synchronization reaches a perfect 100%. Smith reveals that the bots took away all of his weaponry save for a single shot from his chest cannon, that his battery is low, and that Harlan will launch the warhead in a few minutes. Fortunately, there are many weapons laying about. When a second Casca shows up with a group of robots, Atlas and Smith attack them and pilfer additional weaponry to combat them. As they travel, they even smash through walls, taking out as many bots as they can before heading out. Unfortunately, there are too many adversaries, and the pair is quickly surrounded. Elias appears at that very moment brandishing a weapon, motioning for them to flee before firing into several fuel barrels, setting off a massive explosion that completely destroys the facility. After escaping, Smith and Atlas shoot the robots outdoors, demolishing a watchtower in the process. Atlas shoots down a number of defense drones, but Harlan appears to divert her attention with the missile launcher before she can get to the ship. The ship launches with the warhead, and Smith and Atlas must avoid the strike. Smith notes that although Atlas intends to shoot down the ship, doing so will cause the warhead to explode as well, killing them. Even if it will take him a while to get past the 5 firewalls, Atlas is certain that Smith can hack into the warhead and disarm it. Smith works as quickly as he can while Harlan keeps shooting at them, and Atlas chooses to shoot at the ship nevertheless. A large explosion occurs in the sky, but not enough to destroy them, proving Atlas was right to believe Smith could complete the hack in time. When debris starts to fall all over the base, Atlas and Smith start to flee. Harlan follows after them, drawing his sword in preparation for combat. With lightning speed, he chops off one of the suit's arms, causing it to fall into the lava. Harlan leaps onto the suit, causing more damage with the splashing, and stabs Atlas with his sword inside. She rolls up the suit to remove him, but now that she can't breathe through the holes, she needs to use the remaining respirator. Subsequently, Harlan changes his sword into a whip in order to continue striking the outfit. After examining his attack patterns, Smith pulls him forward the suit so they can punch him and rip off his sword arm. Harlan summons his arm back to him as Atlas is ready to crush his head, and then uses his sword to leap all over the suit in an attempt to harm the reactor. When the suit collapses and Atlas is on the verge of passing out, Smith uses his remaining energy to turn on the hand defibrillator. Smith fires his final cannon in an attempt to drive Harlan away when he attacks again, but Harlan quickly recovers and causes the suit to fall. Smith apologizes to Atlas for not shielding her as Harlan then scales the structure and destroys the reactor. When Harlan turns away, he discovers the chess piece on the floor. Suddenly, Atlas emerges from behind him and stabs him in the head. Atlas reaches inside his skull and eventually smashes his circuits to deactivate him because he is still able to move. Smith then declares that he is cutting the sink to give her all of the oxygen. Not wanting to go without him, Atlas begins responding to the tutorial's questions and acknowledges that she does like him. Smith is moved by her gesture and gives her a lollipops before going off. The earthly rescue crew ultimately arrives at that precise moment when the sun rises. After some years, Atlas no longer plays chess and is able to maintain his health thanks to a prosthetic knee. When Jake pays her a visit, he shows her the bright flower from GR39, indicating that they are indeed referring to it as Planty. She then reports for duty and reveals that she is now a ranger as well. She's shocked to learn that they've saved Smith's discs and put him in her suit when they present her with her new arc. Humanity and artificial intelligence bots that assist society with routine activities coexist in the near future. Under the direction of Harlan, the first AI terrorist, the bots one day abruptly get beyond their security measures. Val created him at Shepard Robotics and utilized him to form a relationship with Val's little daughter. Nobody is aware of how he managed to override Val's programming, which was the greatest in the world. Harlan attacked